Everyone saw her fall, but no one expected her to get up like that. The dust hadn't even settled before the base went silent, because the woman they just pushed wasn't who they thought she was. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. It started on a sweltering afternoon outside Fort Ridge, a remote training post in Nevada. The air shimmered, the smell of oil and sweat hanging heavy over the yard, where a group of new recruits were unloading crates. Among them was a woman, mid-30s, quiet, with cropped hair and a faint scar trailing from her jawline to her collar. Her name tag read Harper. At first, no one paid her much attention. She carried her own weight, worked hard, and didn't complain. But when Sergeant Daniels, a loud, brash man known for breaking rookies, noticed her steady pace, his ego pricked. "You move like you've done this before," he sneered. "What were you before this?" "Kitchen staff." Harper didn't answer. She just adjusted her grip on the crate and kept moving. That silence, it burned him more than words ever could. Moments later, when the group gathered near the trucks, Daniels blocked her path. "Hey, I ask you a question," he barked, stepping close enough that his breath hit her face. The others looked on, half smirking, half curious. When she didn't respond, he shoved her shoulder, just enough to test her balance. But Harper didn't flinch. Then he pushed again, harder this time, sending her sprawling into the dirt. Laughter broke out, sharp, nervous, unsure. Dust clung to her sleeves, her palms scraped raw. For a second, she just stayed there, not out of weakness, but out of restraint. You could see it in her eyes, the quiet storm behind them. Then she stood, slowly, deliberately. And when she looked at Daniels, every soldier in that yard felt something shift. "Careful," she said softly, brushing off her uniform. "You might not like what you find when you pick the wrong fight." He laughed again, trying to save face. "Oh yeah? And what are you? Tough girl. You gonna tell on me?" She didn't. Instead, she took a step closer, so close that he had to look up slightly to meet her eyes. "I spent 12 years with SEAL Team 10, she said quietly. 3 tours, lost 6 brothers. You don't scare me, Sergeant." The air went dead. Every boot on that ground seemed frozen in place. Even the wind stopped moving. Daniels blinked, the color draining from his face. Captain Ramirez, who had been watching from a distance, stepped forward, his voice cut through the silence. "Daniels, front and center." The sergeant obeyed instantly, the swagger gone. Ramirez turned to Harper. "Lieutenant Harper," he said, the title rolling through the yard like a thunderclap. "You weren't supposed to report until Monday." A murmur spread through the ranks. "Lieutenant," Daniels' mouth opened slightly, words failing him. He tried to speak, but Harper simply looked at him, not with anger, but something heavier. Pity. Later that evening, the same soldiers who had laughed came to her in quiet apology. One brought her water, another offered to carry her pack. She accepted none of it, only saying, "Respect doesn't need an audience. It needs action." But the next morning, something extraordinary happened. During drills, Harper led the same men who'd mocked her, and when an accident struck, a cable snapping, sending a recruit tumbling toward an embankment, she moved first. Swift, precise, fearless. Within seconds, she had the man secured and breathing. No hesitation, no orders. Just instinct, the kind that only comes from years of combat. When she stood again, dirt streaked her face just like the day before, but now, not a single soldier dared look away. Because in that moment, they all understood, she wasn't there to prove herself. She was there to remind them what real strength looked like. And Daniels, humbled, trembling, approached her after drills. "Ma'am," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." Harper nodded. "Don't be sorry," she replied. "Be better." That afternoon, the entire unit trained harder, stood taller, and spoke softer. Something unseen had shifted, not just in the yard, but in their hearts. Because courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands up, wipes the dust away, and teaches others how to rise. And long after the sun dipped below the desert horizon, the whispers around the base carried one truth, one that would echo long after she left. Because respect isn't given to rank, it's earned through grace under fire. And sometimes, the quietest soldier carries the loudest history. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and tell me in the comments what courage means to you. And if you're new here, subscribe for more real stories that reveal the strength hidden in plain sight.